We're at the Mishnah on Sadi Tes Amid Beis, about 8 lines from the bottom. Someone who has a public, is that what we're talking about? Yeah. Someone who has a public path going through his field. It was previously there. For whatever reason, he gave it, he donated it, they took it. That's the way it is. Not love and not lahem and sad. The owner of the field decided he's not happy with the path. He says, I'm going to take it and I'm going to give them another path to the side. Mashanosan Nasan. It was very nice of this owner of the field to do so, and his new path is now a public path. And that which he's trying to take back, he doesn't get. So he's just messed himself up. Now he has 2 paths going through his field instead of 1. The Gemara will, very strangely, it's not what it sounds like. The Gemara at this point assumes that Shalei Higiyai means that the path, his path, the one that he's trying to reclaim, he does get it, but he can't stop people from walking there. That's what it means, Shalei Higiyai. He can't stop people from walking. But we'll see, the Gemara will clarify that. That's the way the Rashbam explains it at this point. Okay, Derech HaYachid Daled Amas. If someone buys, someone acquires a path in a private setting, a normal path is Daled Amas. Derech HaRabim Shesh Eshayama. Derech a public road. Again, these are all examples of things that if someone sells it stam or he gives it stam, this is what it means. So Derech HaRabim is 16 Amas. Derech HaMelech Ein Lashir. A melech, when he has to use eminent domain to seize some property to make a road, there's no shear to what he could do. Derech HaKever Ein Lashir, as well as people who are coming from a what do you call it, funeral, there's no shear that it takes up as much room as it needs to. Maimed was, the Gemara is going to discuss this at length, was a minig that they used to have, that after a levaya, they would have the mourners stand up and sit down 7 times. So that this was done in a big area. It needs 4 kavim, that amount of size you need for a maimed. People used to basically buy them. They would buy themselves a kever, and they would also contract to have room for their maimed. They'd have like what they really had was they would have a family plot, and they would have room next to it for the funeral, and they would also have room for the maimed. So Gemara. So as we had explained, the first din of the Gemara was someone who tried to switch a public path through his field and said he wants to reacquire that path and give another path. The Mishnah has said that the path that he has given is taken by the public, but the path that he's trying to acquire, lo higiyah. In fact, the Gemara, ma'ishalei lo higiyah, Lincoln Pizrav Elasiv. Why can't he stand on the path and stop people from going on it? Meaning, it's his. Why do we stop him from stopping people? Why isn't he allowed to stop people from using a path that's not theirs? This would seem to indicate that a person cannot protect his own rights, protect what he owns, but in a case where there's what he's going to lose. Meaning, in this case, it's a public. It's not like he can take his neighbor to Besdin and say, don't go on it. He has a problem that the public thinks it's theirs, and they constantly be trespassing. So he has no way of getting a Besdin to make it his. So he has to stop people. But the mashmois from this Mishnah is, what the Gemara's understanding is, that the Mishnah is saying he's not allowed to stop them. This is not the din. The din is you can stop someone where you have no way of protecting your rights. You can't stop a person from taking something. Amar of Zid Mishmei Rav Gzeir Hashem Yitin Lehen Derech Aklasim. Rav Zvid says B'Shem Rava that the reason why what happens over here is that this this place that he's trying to give them, he doesn't he doesn't get to take back the original path, because we're worried if we allow people to do this, to take back a path from the public and get a new one, there's concern that the person will take advantage and give them a bad path. He'll give them a path that will make them take a longer way, and he doesn't have a right to do that. But there's no one really to take him to din. It's the public that he's defrauding. So therefore, the Chamum Misakin, you can't switch it. If you try to switch it, you're not going to accomplish anything. It will still belong to the public. From Shashim Shmei de Rava Amar, B'noizil hem derech haklasan. He says it's not Gzeira, but rather we're talking about specifically a case. The Mishnah is talking about a case where he did give them a path that was going in the diagonal that took up more time, and therefore he was really defrauding the public, and that's why he doesn't get to take back his property.
Why can't we just say that the new road just doesn't work? It's not chal. If we're worried about him taking advantage of the public,
we're going to see later on when the public walks on something, even without his reshus, even without him allowing it, he can't kick them out. So certainly, you're asking why don't we say that nothing happened? Let him keep what he originally had. But he already gave that to them. He already gave them this new thing, and they already have it. He can't kick them out of it.
It sounds like it's not even totally in use for the. I understand the old one will always remain in the Rabbim because, like you're saying, that they've been trampling on it until now. The new road that he was mechadish that the Olam didn't use yet. Why is that? Why is it like hektish? Like it's chal already.
The Gemara is going to say basically it's a kal v'chomer. That certainly, if they took it, that he wouldn't be able to kick them out. Once he offered it to them, that's at least as good.
Okay.
And certainly it's not a kasha according to the first pshat that it's a gzeira, right? If it's a gzeira, then we want to punish him. It's a knas, sort of. Rav Ashi Amar, kol min hatzad derech haklasan. He says it doesn't have to be that bedavka that the new option he gave is worse. Because by default, any new option is going to be worse, because for some people, whenever you move it, some people it's going to make it worse for them. Whoever's further away from the new one is going to be closer to the old one, and closer to the old one closer to the new one is up further from the old one. Somebody's going to lose out on it. So therefore, it's it could be maybe this is even also this is a gzeira, but therefore he can't do it. He doesn't have a right to do it. So now he explains why he can't take back what we gave the reason why he can't take back the original one. But now we're going to address your question. Why is it this new path? Why do they get to keep it? It's like tomorrow Hamani Rebelazi. Let them say, you take the old one, take the old one and I'll take the new one. Meaning let's forget about my whole attempt. So this is what I told you before. Once the Rabbim has seized use of something for themselves, Masha Baru. What they've taken is theirs, and there's nothing you can do about it. It becomes public, and we're going to explain this further. Are we saying that the Rabbim have is like a communism? Once the Rabbim take something, there's nothing you can do. There's no private property rights. We're talking about this din only applies when there was a prior public path and it got lost and they knew that it existed. So then they say the public just started using some random path they started making. the owner can't tell them, you have to prove it's what you call that? I'm a muchzak. You're trying to take from me. You have to prove where the path is. No, we say the rabbin that picked it out, that becomes theirs. So and it, like we said, this is then a gzeirish. It's a kal v'chaimer. So if this belongs to the public, certainly where somebody offered it to them, he can't be an Indian giver. He can't say, I changed your mind and I'm not giving it to you. How could you say not like this? The Gemara is asking a kasha, which is not a common question in the Gemara. The Gemara is saying this is a very good svara, that it was something, a derech shebaru rabim, that if they took something that was lost, then why, if it's only under these circumstances, why would you say the halacha is not like it? So Gemara, man de masniha le masniha. If you say that the explanation of Rabbi Eliezer is talking about a case where they had a previous path, the Republic had a previous path, and they lost it, and now they're able to keep it, then you can't say the halacha is not like him, because it doesn't make any sense. It's a very good svara. Of a time in Mai. And what's the reason of the Mandamar who's chaylik on Rabbi Eliezer? We said that we explained the Mishnah according to Rabbi Eliezer. So that's the reason why the owner can't reclaim this new path that he tried to give. But according to Mandam who's chaylik on Rabbi Eliezer, why can't he reclaim that path? Mishum de Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda, Meitza shechzik b'rabim asal kalkule. A border, which we've had a number of times, this concept that there used to be borders around fields that were raised humps in the field, and the rabbim sometimes would decide that that's our new path to get through the fields. The Rabbi Yehuda paskins that you can't destroy that path. You have to leave it for the rabbim. So that we make just the same kal v'chaimer like we made from Rabbi Eliezer, we make from this din that once the rabbim has such a right, they certainly have the right when something has been given to them. How is the rabbim kind of something? What does it mean? You had asked, right? This is really a negative presumption of what you had said before. You said, just because he said he's going to give it to them, how does it make it theirs? So the Gemara, so how are they kind of? How are they kind of? So the Gemara b'hilucha, just by walking on it. Tanya halach bala archol arach b'kana. Kana makam hiluchai. If someone was trying to be kind of a field, by walking to its length and its width, he's able to be kind of. Divrei Rebbe Eliezer. The Chum say no. You have to make a chazaka by having, like we've said before, this is not the chazaka of Gimel Shana. This is talking about the chazaka where you kind of with chazaka by improving the field or being nana from the field in some way. Amr Lazar, my time at Rebbe Eliezer. Where does Rebbe Eliezer get this from? That you could be kind of just by walking on a field. And that will be a chazaka. Bershom told Avram, go walk in the land, go walk in Eretz Yisrael, because I'm giving it to you. So that was the Avram made a kinyan by walking through the land, through Eretz Yisrael. The Bershom was not doing it as a kinyan, but rather he was trying to make things better for Avram. In order that it will be easier for his children to conquer the land, meaning that someday, when the Bershom already gave it to him, and there was nothing, the Bershom was saying that his someday when Yeshua came, he was going to conquer it and get it. This was just so that when like we have in the first Rashi in Bereshis, when the Goyim will say, where do you have rights to Eretz Yisrael from? They'll say, first of all, Bereshis Bara Elokim, it all belongs to Hashem. And also this, and he's walking on it now to show that they could say that the Rebbe Shalom made a shvuah, he made a bris to give it to Avram, and they don't have any rights. It's very interesting. This is playing out like in real time, like a million. There've been a million such arguments on Twitter and on comments on YouTube saying, the genocidal Israelis are kicking out their colonizers. And they say, what do you mean? Avram was promised this. We have it in and they show the archaeological evidence, and they show the Beis Hamikdash, and they show Gemaras. Not that it really helps anyone, but it doesn't seem to affect anyone's opinion. But at least you could try.
It's for ourselves.
To remind ourselves that, we don't have to worry about it. It's going to be a lot easier. It's a lot easier it's easier to daven this Yom Ne'erim than it would have been a few weeks ago. You see the Yad Hashem over the last few weeks.
I think that where we were last year Pesach, it was pre-October 7th. It's a whole different
What do you mean? Not last, you mean last year
Rosh
Rosh
Hashanah.
Hashanah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Amar Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina, moedim chacham le'belaza b'shvil shel kromen. Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina is the chachamim amoida to Rabbi Eliezer that you can be kind of just by walking by a path through a vineyard. Hayel v'nasa lehilach nikna behilach. Since these paths are not just paths that are made, like if someone walks on a wheat field and he goes through the furrows, those furrows are made for cultivating. They're not made for walking, but there's something very nice about walking through a vineyard. So it's made for walking. So by walking in it, you're being nana from the field itself. They came to Rabbi Yitzchak bar Ami to ask how much of if someone was purchased a path through a field, how much does he get? Amalu havale kihechi dari tuna de shabishta v'hader. You have to give him enough. You have to give the person. I'm sorry. You have to give the purchaser enough room, a path wide enough that he could carry a bunch of branches and turn around. That's a standard amount. This whole din that how much room he has to have is only where there are walls on each side. If there are not vines and branches on each side, he just needs enough place to put his feet. The reason why we give him enough room to carry branches because that's what people will do going through a vineyard. But because he has to carry branches. But if there's no walls, if there's no vines on each side, he just needs room for his feet, and then he could carry it. The Mishnah had said, derech hayachad daled amas. The derech for an individual, for a private path, is daled amas. Tana acher maimrim kadei shibud sheyaver chamor b'masei. Enough room for a donkey to carry his load, which l'chair is less than daled amas. Am Rav Huna halacha ka'acher. Rav Huna says halacha ka'acher. The Yonei Goyla say that the Yonei, what is the daled? V'tanu the Yonei Goyla shnei gemadim u'mechza. The shear is not daled amas, or maybe it's not chamor v'masei. They say two gamadim. Gamadim is a shear, either a small amma or a regular amma, 2.5 of some kind of amma. Halach is like the daini goyla. In fact, we know that Rav Huna says halach kacherim. So ID chachi yurhu. In chanami shnei gamadim umechza is equal to a chamar umase. So derech harabim sheish esrei amma. A public road is 16 amas. Tan rabban derech hayachid arba amas. The derech of yachid is 4 amas. Derech me'ir le'ir shmoin amas. The path, a private, like a semi-public road that only goes from one city to the next, only needs to be 8 amas, which is smaller than a derech harabim. Derech harabim sheish esrei amas. Derech harabim regular public road, or Rishus harabim is 16 amas. Derech are a miklat shloishu shtayim amas. And here miklat is 32 amas. Ravuna micro, where do we see this? It says haderech, derech haderech. So we learn it, we double it. It says derech. It could have just said derech. Tachan l'cha derech. It says haderech. That tells you double it. Instead of 16, it's 32. Derech hamelech ein lo shir. We said by eminent domain, the king can size any amount. Shamelech pirates get a lastly derech ein mamachem biyade, because a king can knock down any boundaries. There's no restrictions on him, and he can do whatever he wants, and nobody can stop him when it comes to seizing what he sees necessary for ruling the country. We say for a funeral there's no shear. Because of the covet of the mace, it's not proper to restrict. You have to give as much room as necessary. A maimed, we said there's a maimed, a din maimed. A minig of maimed that they would stand up and sit down for the deceased. The Yoni Tipari Amru, Bask Dalit Kavan. They said it has to be 4 Kavan. Tan Rabban, Hamoicher Kivrei, Derech Kivrei, someone who sold his kever, his burial plot, Derech Kivrei, the path, his rights to go to that kever, Makam Mamadai, the place where they would do the Maimed, Ubeis Hespedi, the place of the hesped. They can do it, even though he sold it, his particular spot in the family plot. They can do a forced sale and require the new owners to allow him to be buried, and they have to pay him, but they can force them to give him his spot. Taraban. You don't do less than 7 standings and sittings for a mace. Keneged Hevel Havolim Amar Kehelis Havel Havolim Hakol Havel. It says by in Mishlei, it says Kehelis. It says 7 times. It says Hevel, then it says Havolim, which is the Lashon Rabbim. Amar Kehelis. This is Hevel Havolim. So it's the first is 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1 is 7. Hakol Havel. Amalei Rav Acha. So this is referring to a mace. Amar Racha Brei de Rav Ravashi. Hechi Avdi. How do you do it? Amalei Kedetanya Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Yehuda B'Rishon Lehayu Peichsen Mishiva Mamadis U'Moshaves. They wouldn't do less than 7 times standing up and sitting down the mace. You're going Amdu Yikarim Amoidu Shavu Yikarim Shavu. Like it says, get up the beloved ones. Amoidu Shavu Yikarim Shavu. You should stand up and you should sit down. Amrla Im Kain Af B'Shabbos Motalasas Kain. He said if that's what you have to do, if you're just standing up and sitting down, you should be able to do this even on Shabbos. And we know that the din is that you don't do so. So, the chayra, this is, how could you say that we know that the minig is not to do it on Shabbos? So how could you say that all they did was stand up and sit down? Why couldn't they do it? Ach say the Rami Bar Papa, the sister of Rami Bar Papa, have a nesiva leila Rav Avia. She was married to Rav Avia, Shchiva, and she died. Avid lo maimed u'moishev. He did a maimed and a moishev. Amar Rav Yosef, ta betarti. He made 2 mistakes. Ta shein oisin ella bekroivim v'uavid afilu berchaykim. The din of maimed is normally done, only the kroivim do it, and he had everyone stand up and sit down. The ta shein oisin ella b'yom rishon v'uavid b'yom sheni. The minig was also only to do it on the day of the kfura, and he did it on the following day. He made an additional mistake. It was only supposed to be done in the cemetery, and he did it back in the town. They only do it in a place where that's the minig, and he did it in a place where there's no such minig. We said if this is the case, that you just stand up and sit down, you can do it even on Shabbos. If you say it has to be done in the Beis HaKfaros, it has to be done on the day of the Kfura, Beis HaKfaros, b'Shabbos, my boy. How would it ever come up such a thing? You're not allowed to go do a Kfura on Shabbos, so you can't do it in the Beis HaKfaros on Shabbos. So tomorrow, but here Hasmuchal Beis HaKfaros, Tam Tiyur Ben Hashmos. So we're talking about they did the Kfura right before Shabbos, and they were right near the Beis HaKfaros. They could do it right afterwards. Sorry, I don't know where my voice went today. Shkayach, thanks for coming.
We still did